Our journey of the Industrial Revolution begins with the Enclosure Acts. Back then, land was not really owned. Most people just farmed around where they lived, and it was respected that where they planted this year, they would plant next year, and so others didn't touch that land. But then, the Enclosure Acts were passed. They cut off pieces of land that peasants could no longer farm, consolidating the best lands into privately large-owned farms to increase production and efficiency. These were given to the wealthier farmers with political connections. This resulted in poorer farmers having less farmland, so they had to find a way to produce more crops with less land, inspiring the development of the dresser tool machine. This machine limits the amount of space wasted between seeds and plants them in consistent depth, increasing the production and harvest and decreasing the time it took to weed it at the end of the season. This caused other developments such as crop rotation, which were an effective method of putting nutrients back in the soil and creating a higher quality of crops.
Due to the Enclosure Acts, the farmers had three options. The first was they had to stay and work on the shabby land they owned. The second was to work as sharecropper for the wealthy farmers that took their land. And the third option was to migrate to the industrializing cities.
The first major industrialized country was Great Britain, which built factories and canals, increased agricultural production, experienced rapid city growth, manufactured new techniques, and achieved a breakthrough in fuel sources for energy and traded extensively. Because Britain was such a great example of industrialization, it led to other nations to also become industrialized.
As many farmers chose their third option and migrated with their families in search of jobs, the cities began to boom. Factories especially became a major industry by supplying tons of jobs. In order for these factories to operate, the steam engine was created in order to transport material in and out of factories. Along with steam engines came railroads that exposed all aspects of society. It introduced the upper class and those not working in factories to machines through trains. These trains sped up travel time by replacing muscle power with machinery, and travel went faster than ever before.
As a result of an overwhelming population swell in cities, a period of time called the Great Stank arose in London. During this time, a horrible odor permeated the entire city because of people dumping their waste into the River Thames for lack of proper disposal areas. People began complaining and getting sick because of the terrible smell and infected drinking water. After an extended period of excretion exposure, the government decided to create reforms banning the dumping of waste into the Thames. They also began making sewage systems for proper disposal. Factory working conditions were also problematic. Employees worked extensive hours with extremely low wages. There were health risks because of extremely dangerous situations. Many of these dangers left workers crippled and unemployed. Working children also faced great health risks and could get seriously maimed or even killed. Children were deprived from a proper education because they had to start out young, age 8 or younger, working in factories.
Eventually, these poor conditions led to reforms in industry. The Factory Act prevented children 8 and younger from working in factories. Once this act was passed, they started working on education reforms. The 1918 Education Act made school mandatory for children until age 14. For years, children followed this mandate until 1944. The government extended the age to 18, which holds true today.
Robert Owen was a revolutionary success because under his reforms, children there were no longer physically punished and could no longer work under age 10. Instead, Owen provided them with an education. He ensured workers were educated, owned homes, and had access to medical resources. His progressive concern for everyone's well-being set him apart from other industrial institutions.
These ideas transformed the mindset of American workers. They began fighting for fair treatment. The workers decided to come together to reach their goals of reforms, which led to workers' unions. Groups of workers went on strikes, set on achieving higher wages, safer working conditions, and shorter hours.
In summary, this era was a revolutionary journey that consisted of many inventions and advancements that continue to be pursued in the modern world. So essentially, our life is like a roller. So far, we've only traveled an inch and there is so much left to overcome.